Hello, welcome to the Mark Outward Show, Adventures in a Cosmic Suit. How you doing? Doing well? Good, 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 good. Good to hear. Good to hear you doing well. I'm doing well. Doing very well, actually. Now, one of the most controversial subjects in the past, I don't know, how many years has it been? I've lost track of time. 8 years has been, especially in the awakening world, has been the subject of Q. You know, the number 17 that I go on about a little bit occasionally, every now and then. Why is that? Well, if you listen to David Icke, you will, who I've got a great deal of respect for, you will hear that it is a psyop designed to, based upon stuff that's happened in the past, designed to round up dissenters to give them hope, false hope, whilst the bad guys carry on with their stuff. If you listen to, and that's a view shared by a lot of people that are, big names in this world, and it is interesting. But then, if you listen to other people, if you go and watch, if you've ever seen The Plan to Save the World, Joe M, I believe his name is. That's an amazing little film that you should watch. It's too interesting not to discuss. Let's put it that way. When I was touring America, Ethan, can't remember his surname now. A chap called Ethan. He's been on my show a couple of times. He brought out a book called Q and related it to Jesus, and there's a lot to that too. But I think it's such an important subject that I was contacted by a gentleman known as Charles Fox. I nearly said Charles Foxtrot about a year and a half ago, because he brought out a book that I'd really enjoyed, and I did a review on it on my show. And that book you can get on Amazon if you've not read it. It's called Red Pilling in a Clown World: The Information War, blah blah, battles with family to digital soldiering. It's an excellent book. It's funny, right? That was the main thing I enjoyed about it. But it was a one-man story about losing everything during the awakening and going through what we all endured from a very British perspective. And anyway, I got a message saying, I'm writing a book about Q. Would you like to write to the introduction or the forward? And I said, absolutely. In fact, who's publishing it? Well, guess who's publishing it now? Let's bring him on. Charles Foxtrot. How you doing?
Hi, how you doing, Mark? Charles Foxtrot, that's a good one.
I know. I've been doing so much this morning. I'm losing my worms.
Yeah, I know. I get brain fog all the time now because it's just a constant sort of battle of communication. Hence, writing books.
Well, I don't think you got that much brain fog. You've managed to churn out a really good book. 300 and how many pages is it? 380 odd.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's like a reference book partly as well. So it's got some great pictures in it. Yeah, it's quite a sizable book.
387 pages plus 108 page PDF plus a forward by me plus an audio book. That's pretty good going. Well done.
Yeah, and thanks for that forward.
Well,
and thanks for publishing it.
Is it any good? I don't know. I
listened to it last night. Maybe the bottle of red wine helped, but yeah, it's good. And the poem is fantastic because I just like the incidental music you've got going on, and it just leads.
Not the poem, the music. Okay. I won't take that personally.
No. The obviously the music highlighted all the beautiful prose going on there. It was really good.
Well, yeah, I wrote that poem 5 years ago, and it's in this book. If you guys haven't seen it, I'm going to put this out on Amazon soon. It's not been out on Amazon.
Yeah.
Well, why are you doing that, Mark? Because you said Amazon was bad. Well, it is, but I found a way to bypass all of that, so that's why that's coming out again. Which is why we published this book by Charles. Now, I read all
as well. Eh? Use your enemies.
Yeah, exactly. Use the enemy's weapons against them. I read all the Q posts as they came out. I followed it all very excitedly back in the day because I'd been awake for 30 years anyway, so it was quite amazing to see what was coming out through those drops and how that galvanized hundreds of thousands of anons. And of course, the MSN incorrectly refers to the whole thing as QAnon, which is not. It's Q and the anons. So what's your story? What's your interaction? How did you get to write this book, Charles?
So much like the first book, being in a constant state of discombobulation, I guess, being someone who knows a lot of stuff that seemingly nobody else around me seems to know or want to know or understand. Getting involved in several conversations daily and text messages daily where I guess you're being challenged. And back in the day when we were just dealing with the normies and trying to wake them up and receiving all the abuse, and then thinking, right, well, we're all awake now. I stumbled across, well, I was always fascinated, with the guy in the Guy Fawkes mask.
Yeah.
And, the sort of crackly black and white image that appeared. And that whole stuff led me to, I guess, look into Q. I was never an anon, but I was very much involved soon after in terms of looking for comms, communications, and looking for proofs. And I just found as soon as I started reading through how complex they were and how sophisticated they were. And, I was aware people were always, talking about Q-tards and not following a prophet and not sitting back and waiting to be saved and all of this stuff that gets chucked at you. But for me, it was just making so much sense so quickly. And I don't know why, because a lot of people say, I remember this guy saying, I looked into it a few years ago and, it's just a cult. It's just a load of meaningless, cryptic messages. It's just a cult. And, if you looked into it 2 or 3 years ago, it would have made no sense whatsoever, because the whole thing is future proofs past, right? So when events happen now, the whole point is somebody may, someone like Dan Scavino or Trump or anyone who's involved with Q, which you find out later on, as soon as they lead you back to an older Q message with hindsight and with the knowledge of what's going on now, you see 7 years ago or 8 years ago or whenever that message was put together, things make sense. But there's no way they would have made sense back then. So not only was I getting crap from the normies, and I you get to a point where you just give up with the normies anyway, don't you? They're normies, willful ignorance. They don't want to know, blinkers on, just getting on with their lives. But when you think you're in a large group of friendly awakes and you're trying to give them some good news because you stumbled across something that's showing and something that I know now is evidence of a large military plan to bring down the entire deep state worldwide, and there's no such thing as coincidences once you've seen your 500th coincidence in 2 months or what have you, then you get abuse from them, and it's quite vile abuse, and it's TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, which so many people have, and it's so deeply ingrained. The level of abuse and insults and people just phoning up, and just wanting to go straight into, it's almost like it almost felt like I'm responsible for this. I'm someone who's ruining the awake community's plans to fight back themselves and to have a revolution or whatever. And all I was trying to do is just point them in the right direction and say, I think, and I can see that there's something big that's been planned for decades, and all these bad guys are getting drawn into a massive sting operation, which it is. That's what it is. And yeah, you know, you can't have these conversations in 10 minutes. You can't have these conversations in a day, really. You can't explain. If you're trying to, and this is the thing that has affected me, I think, you know, it's given me a bit of an imposter syndrome, because I've had these conversations every day, several times over, like you have, with people, and these people think you're mad, right? So you try and explain something as complex as Q, and then you have to also bring in the whole devolution thing, which is a completely different angle to it all. But actually, without devolution, Q doesn't make a lot of sense as well. But anyway, so you try and have these conversations with people who think you're mad. You start talking, you just sound like you're mad, don't you? So much like the first book, I thought, well, you know, if somebody really wanted to know, like these people who just phone me up and say, oh, you know, I see Trump's sitting with the CEO of Pfizer now, so, you know, quite clearly he's one of them. Or, oh, you know, I've read this post and they've just made it up. You know, for me to explain how it works, there was only one solution, and that was to try and write it all down, and in the hope that they might read it. And they won't read it. I know they won't, because they didn't read my first book.
Yeah. Well, you know, my solution was to write a poem and sum it all up in a poem, but people don't read those either.
I did. I listened to one yesterday. It was brilliant.
Well, they read them, but they don't ponder over the hidden code text. It's a certain mind. You know, when I first came across the post, I'd been a conspiracy theorist for 3 decades, so it was all making sense to me, and I was so excited. And there was some great people decoding them, and it was like, oh my God, here we go. One of the issues, I think, has been, you know, I think that when was the last post? 2022.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked about it in the forward. You know, a friend of mine in London said I was in a cult because I was trying to explain what was going on, and he literally walked away. And that happened to me a lot before 2020. There was a time in a hotel in Marrakesh when a woman, quite a notable woman, we were talking about the election in 2016, and she said to me, she said, "You're not a Trump," you know, I don't know how the conversation got to it, but she said, "You're not a Trump supporter, are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm English. I don't support anybody." I said, but at that point, I just started to hear the code in the speeches. I just started, you know, so much so that I had to pull over in my car one day when I was listening to him on being discussed on a podcast, and I was like, "Oh my God, he's talking in code." And this was pre-Q, and I had that conversation with this woman where I said, "Well, it's got to be better than Hillary Clinton, the satanic witch. She's a mass murderer." I mean, this is around the time of pizza, which I want this to go on YouTube, so I won't mention the full term. But and and she literally jumped up and went back 20 feet towards the window and was inching away along the window, desperately trying to get hold of her husband to pick her up. Yeah. And it was like I'd said something. It was so bizarre.
Yeah.
And that was 9 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, such as the power of labeling. That's what the deep state do, or the Marxists, don't they? They invert truth, but they also stick a label on something. So if they give Trump a Nazi label or a racist label, it sticks, and that's all people know. And they won't spend any time or effort looking into something that debunks that label. The label always sticks. But I know. I mean, I remember when Trump got back in this time round for his third, that's 3 fingers, his third consecutive term, which is in the book. And this guy came up to me in the pub, all excited, and said, "Oh, hope you're pleased, hope you're pleased." And he showed me this picture of his friend flying and this is in England, flying the American flag upside down as if that was, you know, some kind of ultimate fight against the king devil, you know. It's just pathetic. And you know, there really are sort of turkeys voting for Christmas, these people, but they don't know it, you know. And you know, obviously mainstream media, it's not just are they kind of propagandists for the state. They omit to tell us the good news, don't they? So anything good about Trump won't reach their eyes and ears. But going back to you know, getting all the abuse and everything from the Awake community and the David Icke supporters and everything, and those that were telling you that you're just sitting back waiting to be saved, you know, which Q doesn't say that. Q says, I'm not a prophet, you are not a prophet. You know, people have to wake up. You can't show them, they have to see it, they have to feel it. And people, I'm surprised, you know, I'm surprised the masses didn't reach their precipice, which is what Q talks about, the tipping point when people wake up. Surprised they didn't do that during COVID, but anyway, they didn't. So I was in a group, you know, after they took down Parler, you know, then we went on to Telegram, I believe. I was in a Telegram group eventually. It's about 400 of us, and I started to put out some good news or show some drops or show some proofs, you know. And a lot of these proofs that I put in the book, they're undeniable. You know, they're just, you can't argue against it. There's like, you see it, you'll see it, certain pictures or certain events, and you'll just go, oh, but they quite clearly, they knew this was going to happen 7 years ago, and it's all there, you know. But so I was starting to put out, you know, basically 400 people turned against me in this group of Awake people. And
sorry, Awake people.
Yeah. The thing is I find that there is a sort of strange mentality with a lot of them. It's a bit like Animal Farm, you know, where you know, we're all equal, but some of us are more equal than others. You know, what I said is that we're all awake, but some of us are more awake than others. And there's this.
But it was always that way. Ever was it thus? You know, in spiritual New Age community, same thing. I had a message yesterday from somebody who said, basically, Mark, I know you're a good guy and a good heart and everything else. Not some people don't, but fuck them because and then he was explaining how. He's an amazing guy, this guy, and I worked with him on a project, and he said, you know, I went to this spiritual event. I think it was a ceremony, you know, like a 2 or 3 day ceremonial weekend, and he said that he couldn't believe the nastiness inside these supposedly spiritually awake people and the competitiveness.
They're not spiritual, though, are they?
No.
But they're not spiritual.
Well, it's all infiltrated, right? Which is why. Do you think that's why it's taken so long? Because what Q did was leave us all alone for 3 years now, and well, for 5 years really, apart from a couple of posts. Whilst other things moved on, and I think that whole, I mean, if you watch, there's so many things to unpack here, but if you watch David Wilcock on YouTube in the last year, he's basically been trying to say that one of the X accounts on X is now Q, and then he keeps relating it to himself. And I think that's kind of interesting. And
I think Q did its job. I think it did its job. I think there's enough information out there. Don't need any more. You know, everything's unfurling. It ended with the
stories. The story has been told.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a communication tool, essentially, to stop the 100 million heavily armed Americans from taking up the fight themselves and creating a civil war scenario, right? So enough of us know and can see there is a plan. It is unfurling. It's not happening as quickly as you want it to. You know, there's the arrests shouldn't be happening now because the judges are corrupt and the prosecutors are corrupt and blah, 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 blah. There's hundreds of reasons why everything has to, they've only got one chance to do this. You know, if they fuck up, then that's it. We're all absolutely doomed to totalitarian tyranny. So I believe we're going to see, well, we're seeing it rapidly. Everything's unfurling. Everything's going crazy, you know, rapidly. But I can see, because of what I've seen and what I know in the Q posts, I can see that Trump and the team behind Trump are in pretty much total control. I believe that there's a white hat force that are steering the bad guys into making huge mistakes whilst they're exposing themselves and incriminating themselves, right? You just look at, in England now, we're in our Biden years.
Yeah.
Okay. We're in England now is a blue state. It's like New York or California, right? Starmer's doing exactly the same as Biden did. And obviously this warp speed, for example, isn't what people think it is.
No, I know.
Warp speed was a tool that Trump and the military used to compress a 16-year plan by the deep state into 4 years, right? So it's supposed to be Obama, Hillary Clinton. And, you know, with some cunning planning, they managed to get Trump in 16, and he you know, jeopardized that plan. So they obviously stole the 2020 election, and you'll read in my book that they allowed them to do that. Part of the sting operation was to allow the baddies to get in and show how bad they are, you know, but letting all the illegals and all the two-tier policing and everything that's going on that everybody can see. So the waking process now, even though Q's done its job and we haven't had a post since 22, you know, people can see what's going on. I mean, Starmer, what makes me laugh is probably what the White Hats have done. They've pushed him into a position where he was obviously installed. You know, the baton was handed over from the Conservatives. He was obviously installed, but now he's straight away attacking the pensioners, straight away, you know, giving up the Chagos Islands, which nobody asked for. It's not in any manifesto. Complete fuck up. Now we've got to pay them £34 billion a year to rent it back because it's a strategic base. What else?
Farmers.
Well, there's Mandelson, choosing Mandelson for the US ambassador. I mean,
couldn't pick a better man.
Oh my God. As soon as I saw that was his choice, I absolutely laughed my head off.
And then wheeling out Ed Miliband, the failed leader, to implement the craziest climate change stuff you've ever heard of.
And was it Wallace?
And what's her name?
I don't know which one's the dog and which one isn't. But
who's that one? Who's the one from accounts? I can't remember her name. But that
isn't she?
Do you think that? Well, do you think that's the bad guys then? Because you think Biden was the bad guy. I think it's all white hat. But yeah,
I think the bad guys are the good guys, and the bad guys are the good guys, and we're going to find out in time that some people who we really think are good guys are probably possibly not. You know, and everyone's being leveraged as well with all the dirt. I mean, Trump and the military have it all. They've always had it all. Everything.
Yeah. That's why I tell people I don't care about being on WhatsApp or whatever, because they've got everything anyway.
And they don't have control. They don't have the. I mean, obviously, you know. Also, he's trying to bring in the ID system and everything. But what makes me laugh is that they don't have any control at all. Trump has all the control. You look at how Trump is received all around the world. Like in 2017, you know, he did his capitulation tour, right?
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know about that, and it's worth going into that in a little bit, because it was Charlie Freak made an excellent video showing that that Mark Devlin was involved with in some way, and then there's been a few since then. That tour was just so obvious that you know. Just talk us through it, because for the sake of the viewers that don't know about it.
Well, I mean, it was all based on the white hats, the good guys, for decades probably had collated all the evidence they ever needed against the deep state, which were infiltrated all around the world, very deep, very wide. They essentially had all this dirt on all of the regimes around the world. And once Trump got in, he essentially went on a world tour everywhere, sat with the leaders of these countries and the establishment of these countries, and probably presented them with a lot of the information that he had on them, and then they capitulated to him. And so, like Saudi Arabia, for example, gave him the sword dance, which was, never given to anyone of any previous president. So there was quite clearly a reception that these countries all around the world were giving him that was way over the top. Nothing like anything had happened before. So he had leverage over them. So, for example, in 2007, it happened in 2017, May, first few months, 2017. And come November 2017, the entire deep state of Saudi Arabia were rounded up. That was in a very public, in a hotel in the capital of Saudi Arabia. I can't remember. What's the capital of Saudi Arabia? Can't remember anyway. But we're still seeing it now. We're still seeing the capitulation to Trump now. I mean, the way he was received in England, with all the horse guards and the pomp and ceremony, twice as big as anything that's ever been afforded to any other president.
Not just that, when he was in Scotland, they came to him and he was receiving.
He summoned Starmer to his doorstep and gave him an absolute dressing down, and made him lie. It's just phenomenal the way that he's got them all in his pocket. Even all the lead. Go on.
No, this brings up a big thing, because I know there's going to be people watching this going, blah, 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 I can't believe you're falling for this nonsense, because he's one of the bad guys.
Yeah.
And if you look at, I mentioned David Icke because he I've spoken to Gareth Icke about this, and he said he'd love it to be true, but it can't be, because it's just, and it's a very negative kind of world when you go there, because I'm an apocalypse optimist. Obviously you are as well. And, their argument, and even Jeff Berwick, who I interviewed recently, calls them Q-tards. And there are people I know watch this show who just can't go there. And if you look at, there's a lot of people I have admired over the years. Even Kevin Annett, the Canadian priest who took the Pope and the Queen and Prince Philip to common law court 10 years ago or more, is on the Sean Attwood show saying Trump's one of them. And this is what he's doing. He's in the Ninth Circle. What do you say to those people?
Fine, believe that. Doesn't make any difference, does it?
Well, I've even had somebody ring me up a couple of years ago saying that they have witnesses to him doing the same things that the bad guys do.
Yeah.
And this was a very credible person, and I was like, and it's been like a real spiritual test for me to be like, well, do I trust this? Do I trust? But for me, it goes beyond the plan. It's a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
But then there's, people saying, well, I meditate every day. I'm connected to God and and he's one of the bad guys. And it's like, really? Yeah. This is why I try to talk about
the guy, who's setting up the Abraham Accords and bringing peace left, right, and center. The guy who's taking down the Federal Reserve and the evil fiat system that keeps us all enslaved. The guy who's exposing, the big pharma and big tech companies. It doesn't matter if people think that, because it doesn't make any difference. We don't. It's like going back.
Why do you think they can't see it?
Well, I think an awful lot of them have got Trump derangement syndrome, so I think they still see mainstream media stuff that's very,
No,
very negative.
I'm talking about awake people that have written books, people
Yeah.
that have campaigned
Yeah,
for
I
years.
don't know. Yeah. I think they see a bigger picture that might not be that big, if that makes any sense. I think maybe they're dismissing, like Joe M, with Plan to Save the World. He kind of explains that there can be good guys. There can be a white hat force. Why can't you? Why is that too hard for you to imagine?
Yeah.
We are essentially all good people. Most people are good. Everyone's born a good baby, right? Apart from the fucking devil that sits inside a few people, I guess. But it's entirely possible and feasible that there's a counter force against the baddies, right? And that's how I became slightly religious or found God or whatever, because I've seen evil in abundance. There's an opposite to everything, and
there has
everything.
Yeah,
there has to be. That's it. There has to be. I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why people like David Icke and what have you stick to their mantra. I mean, to me, these people, they're not offering a solution. There's no solution. None. I know. Right? Because no revolutions ever worked, ever. No. Really. No. Because for 800 years, the Khazarian mafia, or whatever you want to call them, have always maintained
both sides.
Yeah, well, there's both sides, but they've also always sat on top. They've never been taken down. You might get countries where they've had tin pot dictators that they've created. They've overtaken the country. The people have, and they've installed some kind of democracy. But it's the illusion of democracy. There's no democracy until the future doesn't work.
Yeah.
So what's their solution? This is the thing that I've struggled with as well, because the people who've attacked me, all they're doing is blackpilling. All they're doing is sending me bad news. All they're doing is looking at whatever Trump says and does and seeing it in the worst possible light. Whereas I just about everything Trump says and does, I go, brilliant. That's it. Yeah, it's all unfurling nicely. It doesn't look nice and simple. It's a very, very, very bumpy ride. And the thing is, this is like you say, this is an information war. It's a spiritual war. It's the ultimate war between good and evil. Definitely, we're only going to have this one. And like Sun Tzu, who wrote The Art of War. All of those principles stick. So all wars are won with deception, right? So you're supposed to think Trump's a fucking idiot. You're supposed to think he's a Nazi, because the baddies are supposed to think that as well. You're supposed to think he's fucking things up. You're supposed to think he's in bed with the baddies.
Makes sense.
That's how it works. It's deception.
Well, that's mirrors. That's your first line in the book.
Yeah.
All wars start with deception.
Yeah, I don't think that came. That was me probably stitching a couple of Sun Tzu things together. But deception wins all wars for sure.
Well, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing about why I wanted to publish this, because I think it's firstly, it's a great book. You're a great writer. That's really important. But for the people watching this, who I mean, my podcast is 5 years old now, and I've multiple times I've said, go and read the posts, but people, it's weird, isn't it? Because sitting and reading all the posts, you actually need somebody over your shoulder sort of pointing out, because it's it's historical now. It's not like they're coming out every day and you're responding. That if an anon has already had that time. Who's this book for, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's for all of the people who, want to have this argument with me, because I can only have this argument if they read everything I've written, because it's like the most intricate story. And you can't talk about it. You can't explain it in 10 minutes. You just can't do it. But it's also You know, when we're talking about you know, people making their own minds up and questioning everything. I mean, something that I really think is important is most of us, we don't know what we don't know, right? So you can be questioning everything, but if you don't know what to question, you're operating at a very shallow level, you know. And what Q does is it doesn't provide answers; it provides the questions.
Mm-hmm.
It shows you which rocks to look under, right? And then once Q's almost like being the ultimate sort of counselor. You know, if you're a counselor, you don't tell the patient or client what their solution is. You come up with questions that make them, you know, I hate the term join the dots, but come to their own conclusion. But Q reveals all of the corruption in the world and all of the players, and Q provides the questions. And you know that if Q is providing all these questions that are very, very detailed and very, very specific, he damn well knows the answers to those questions, right? And then, you know, as if you know what to look for, if you know how Q works, you also do have to know about devolution, which is obviously what, can you see that? The hyphen?
The hyphen where? Oh, what am I looking at? I'm sharing the screen.
Donald Trump, 45 to 47.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The hyphen. That hyphen is so important.
Well, this is what my friend that I met in America, Derek Johnson, he has been going on about. He's been going on about that hyphen for a long time, and he proved when we were on tour, on every live show that we did, that it's all military law. And if you, I mean, he's quite aggressive about it. He says,
he is. He's very aggressive. Yeah, I liked him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great guy, but he said, you know, if you don't understand it by now, you're an idiot. And I'm like, I'm like, is that really the way to approach this? But, you know, that's Derek's way.
No, he made a lot of enemies. He made a lot of enemies, and when I was looking at a lot of his stuff, I was thinking, oh man, calm down a little bit, you know, because
I understand his frustration at the same time, but you know, I'm much more gentle in the way I approach it, because you know, I know that everybody's at different points of understanding, and I don't want to come across as somebody that says I know it all. And there are a lot of questions around it, because I've not met any. I mean, I've interviewed thousands of people. I've at very high levels, and you know, I've not met anybody that has all the answers, and that's one of the really interesting things about Q, because it's supposed to be like no more than 10 people know everything that's going on the planet, right?
Yeah, because it's a worldwide plan in play, and you know, it involves people like Putin and Xi, and you know, good guys around the world. Who every country has its deep state.
But they're not the originals. I mean, that's certainly not the original Putin. The first Putin that came in was definitely an Illuminati stooge. And interestingly, one of this Putin's key players at the moment is a man called Kirill Dmitriev. Have you heard? Yeah.
He's dropping some comms.
Yeah, well, look at this. Let me show you this. I saw this last night at 11 o'clock last night.
I think I've seen it.
Kirill Dmitriev followed you.
Oh, he followed you?
Yeah. I was very happy about that. I was very happy about that.
Wow. You're in there then.
Oh, I've been in there since the start. I mean, I was giving a copy of this to Eric Trump 3 years ago.
I saw the photograph. I saw the photograph. I'd like to let's see how far we can get this book.
Well, you know, that's the thing, right? So let's talk about the book a little bit more, because one of the reasons why I really wanted to publish it is because, firstly, I know I can get it to more people than your previous book got to. Secondly, it's a book that I want to give my mum.
Yeah.
Right, because you know, people I always use my mum as like the baseline of like, you know, somebody who trusted I mean, my mum's very funny, right? So all my life, she refers to them and they. She says stuff like, "Well, that's what they say," and I go, "Who's they?"
Yeah.
And she goes, you know, them. And I said,
Yeah.
who are that? Who are them? And so for me
The
to be able to,
BBC.
yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward to being able to get, and that's why she followed the instructions. That's why she got jabbed. And it's like, despite her loving son telling her for years and years and years, please don't do that. I'm not going to go into that too detail because I want this to be on YouTube, but because they still censor things despite reinstating the channels. But if we can, for me, this book is a bridge, right, to something that's so important. It doesn't matter what your view on Q is, you cannot ignore it because it is the most interesting, one of the most interesting things in history.
Oh, without doubt. It's the most genius, complex military operation ever.
And
I think it's close to the Bible in terms of its
exactly.
enormity and significance, and it will in the future.
Yeah,
it will be seen as, they'll be teaching it in schools.
Yes, I agree.
For sure.
Well, they will, because the schools will be taken over by people like us that will make them good places for children to go.
Well, that's why Trump has dismantled the Department of Education, hasn't
which
he?
is extremely amazing
Department of Indoctrination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, being specific about, we've only got a few minutes left today, but and we can get you on for Q&As and whatever we want to do. I know you're firstly, you remember, you're not really Charles Foxtrot. I'll just explain that to everybody. There's good reasons why, and I'm very happy to keep your identity anonymous under the name Charles Foxtrot. Very happy. Most of you watching will understand that when you understand how much shit you get for talking about this kind of thing in public. The second thing is, I did talk you into recording an audiobook, and I think that's extremely important, and you did a fantastic job, I have to say. And it's a 7-hour, 10-minute audiobook. If you're watching this, I honestly get it, because it's read by Charles, and he's extremely good at it, and it's in his voice, and he's done all the research. The other thing about the book is we've published, there is a printed copy, but we want you to come and get the ebook, claim the ebook. Even if you've got no money, you can donate, right? So you can get it for free today if you want to get it for free. We ask you for a donation, but we trust you. It's up to you. If you can, get the ebook first. We then automatically send you an email with links to everywhere you can go and get the printed book. Now, my suggestion to you, if you're watching this, is get the ebook first. Get the printed one if you want to get it for yourself. Get the audiobook definitely to listen to, and play it out loud in places as well, because I was playing it out loud in the kitchen yesterday and people were tuning in. But also get copies of the printed version and send them to people. Right? Send them to people that are close to you to get them, because we need more people to know about this, because it's been locked off. I mean, one of the things the mainstream media has done about Q in the last 7 or 8 years is literally call it a cult, a right-wing cult, which it isn't, right? And this is why this book is important. You guys who watch me regularly know how important I think books are in the information war. You can send as many videos to people as you want. Then you can send this video to, they're not going to watch it. But if a book lands through their letterbox on Christmas, before Christmas, for example, you might just catch them off guard and might peek there, especially if you write in it and say, "Look, read this; it's interesting."
Just to say, I think there's quite a few points in that book that will blow your mind. Really, that's all I'm going to say. As a sales pitch.
Well, it's true. There are, and it's full of. It's a great book, and it's like you said. You could talk for weeks and weeks about Q and still not cover it. But if you put it into a book, and that's what I'm saying, the printed version and the PDF's great, but the printed version's got color illustrations in it, right? Because it was very important to us in the process of creating the book that the references are there. And that's the same with the audio book. There's a 108-page PDF that gets delivered to you automatically, so that you can actually look at the references while you're listening to it. And I think that's what I meant earlier on when I said, when I've told people to go and read the post, really they need somebody over their shoulder explaining them in more detail, because Otherwise, it just won't make sense. And this is the great thing about X in the last couple of years is there's a lot of people out there saying, here's another Q proof, here's another Q proof. And it's the same with...
and there's a whole list of abbreviations as well, because of course, all the posts that contain a hell of a load of abbreviations that won't mean anything to anybody unless you know what those letters refer to. So that's at the front of the book as well.
Yeah, but that's just to explain to the audience. That's why Kirill Dmitriev following me is a massive thing for me, because he's high up with Putin and he's been dropping Q proofs and posts in the last 3 months.
Send the bookmark.
Yeah, I'm going to send the book. We're going to send the book to everybody. And if you're a podcaster watching this who is interested in this subject, I'll put you in touch with Charles. Get him on the show. Do an interview. Spread the word. Spread this video. Spread the link. If you get the book, spread the link. Put your video review of the book on Facebook, on X, on social media. Let's get it out there, because we want people to understand this. The more people that understand this, the better, right?
Yeah. I think that also the less fear, the better as well. I mean, the baddies operate on fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to be fearful. I, like you, are kind of quite happily sitting back and watching the show. And when I say sitting back, I don't mean we're inactive and waiting to be saved.
Oh no, the opposite.
Opposite. I'm a very, very always been very, very active. Been out there doing all kinds of stuff, and not in disguise as well. And have I got time to say why I?
That's completely up to you.
Yeah. I just feel like a bit of a fraud, sort of hiding my identity. But I mean, that basically came from the first book, which I write a lot about my family, and I don't shine a nice light on them really just purely because of their willful ignorance. And I was just using them as an example of, the absurdity. Yeah. That's every 5 minutes here.
Yeah.
So I mean, so when I told them I was asked to produce a book from my Substack writings, which was talking about my close family members, not wife and kids, but other members. I kind of promised them I'd do it in under a pseudonym. So obviously now I have to maintain that.
Well, no, we talked about this right at the beginning. I fully respect that, and that's fine, and I think people watching this will understand that as well. But if you are watching this today, thanks for watching. We'll get Charles back on. If you want to leave questions for Charles about this, I can get him back on maybe in a week or so to answer those questions. Maybe we'll do a live on YouTube, because I know it's going to bring up a lot of questions for people. But in the meantime, I'm going to put the link's on the screen, bit.ly Charles Foxtrot, lowercase, one word. I'm going to put the link below this video. Go and get the ebook and get the audio book, and then go and get the printed book if you can afford it. If you can't, if you're skint, you can have the book for free. That's just the way we operate, and we want to get this message out there. It's taken a lot of time and effort to put this thing together. So, every donation is greatly appreciated, but it's up to you. And I know you're going to have a little break after you put a lot of effort into this, and I really appreciate it. And I think it's a very important book, and I'm very proud to publish it, because it needs to be out there and it needs to be discussed, and it needs more people to know about it. So thank you very much for your time today, Charles.
Thank you, Mark.
And thanks everybody for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. I've got no words. Subscribe, comments. Don't forget, I've got 3 YouTube channels at the moment. Go and subscribe to all of them, because I haven't decided where I'm going to focus my efforts. Substack, diaryofaconspiracytheorist.substack.com, x.com/MarkAttwood, capital M, capital A. That'll do for now. God bless you. Have a great day. Cheers, Charles. See you later.
Cheers, Mark.